Thousands of families across the U.S. have lost loved ones to the nation's rampant opioid crisis. In 2014 alone, more than 47,000 people died from drug overdoses, more than any single previous year in American history.
Good evening. Tonight we're here to discuss opioid fatalities here in southern Nevada, United States. A brief background. I've worked for the court system since 1995. In those days, we were mainly dealing with crack cocaine, methamphetamines, were the main drugs at that time. It was just a huge wave from the 1980s that just continued with those particular drugs. However, about 2006, things changed quite a bit, and actually very drastically. Just came on very quickly. In the municipal courts, if you want to know what's going on in a community, going to the municipal courts and doing research is probably the best thing you can do, because that's where it starts. And that's what makes it really interesting about working in municipal courts. So about 2006, we started getting a lot of low-level shoplifting, theft cases that these individuals would score low on recidivism risk assessments. Most of them probably had graduated high school, which was kind of rare for us. But these cases ended up being like our most low level, but the individuals who needed the most resources. So the demographic had changed very drastically. Our opioid users prior to that were usually in their 40s, 50 years old. This just overnight drastically changed from 18 to 27 years old. And it just took the court by complete surprise. And we didn't know what to do. Traditional treatments, traditional assessments just weren't appropriate for this population. So the topic research is researching opioid fatalities. This data set is from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. This data is provided in terms of data value rather than rate. This data set is limited to 2015 through 2016 years. The data values display the lowest of 383 deaths in February 2015 and the highest death rate of 460 in August of 2016. This data set represents and confirms an increase in death rates. This data set views a 10-year period of death rates from 2006 to 2016. 2006 was valued at a death rate of 18 per 100,000. In 2016 was valued at 21.7 per 100,000 persons. This represents a 20.6% increase. My primary source data through my researcher indicates overdose mortality rate for the state of Nevada was 7.8 in 1999, with a peak mortality rate of 16.5 in 2011. The most recent mortality rate of 2016 is 13.3 and remains significantly higher than the rate in 1999. Analyzing the data sets of opioid fatalities actually mimics what the criminal justice system experienced from 1999 through 2016. The past decade, the courts and probation departments were dealing with an influx and the residual aftermath from crack, cocaine, and methamphetamine increases of the late 80s and 90s. An alarming and steady increase from 1999 to 2014 of fatal opioid overdoses, according to the data sets, explains the adjustments the criminal justice system and community resources had to make to address the opioid epidemic. A relapse using crack cocaine and methamphetamine, although serious but not fatal, a relapse from opioid use is much riskier for two reasons. The first is due to a user's tolerance level decreasing. Secondly, the user could purchase opioids laced with something much stronger, such as fentanyl. The data shows a peak of fatal overdoses in 2011 at a rate of 16.5 per 100,000 persons. The rate for the years 2013, 2015, and 2016, the overdose rates per 100,000 remain in the 13s, according to the CDC. The data increased over the years. The overdose rates have remained high and consistent, but have not increased over the past 4 years. This stabilization can be attributed to the data sets communicating to the communities that opioid overdoses are at unacceptable levels. Communities and community resources have responded using data to reduce fatal overdoses. One of the major responses by communities and government entities was making Narcan available throughout the communities. This drug reverses the fatal effects of opioid overdoses. The use of Narcan has saved lives for numerous opioid overdose victims that traditionally would have been automatically a fatality. The community has also responded by using medically assisted treatment for opioid users. The opioid blocker Vivitrol has been implemented in substance abuse treatment centers in an effort to reduce fatal overdoses. In conclusion, the hypothesis that opioid overdoses continue to increase in southern Nevada is not supported by the data presented in this study. With a pinnacle of fatal overdoses dating back to 2011, these overdoses remain high in Nevada. I conclude that the stabilizations due to community efforts from treatment and the administration of Narcan have saved lives and reduced these rates.